Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you're watching Yes. It's mine as well as your channel. And today I know the thumbnail says it all, but still, yes, it's the Great Automatic Grammatizator. The name is a bit confusing, the Great Automatic Grammatizator by none other than Roald Dahl. So one of the most popular author of the 20th century. And I don't know whether you all are aware, but he was ahead of his times. And this story will tell you about this farsightedness of Roald Dahl. So when he wrote this story in 1954, so we had little idea of computer. And nowadays these chat GPT and all that, AI. So what he tells in his story are as if in his mind the things of the future are in his mind when he frames his story. And this is a warning. This story is a warning that we should not depend too much on machines because of his dehumanizing effect. So it affects human beings in a bad way. It is a satire. Satire is a literary form where the defects of society, they are highlighted in a humorous manner. So the story has two characters, Mr. Bolin and Adolph Knipe. So Adolph Knipe is actually the main protagonist, yes, by and by. Before we proceed, if you have not subscribed to my channel up till now, please do. And don't forget to press the like button. So you all give such lovely comments, but the likes are very few. I don't know, I try to give you a very lucid explanation. So anyway, let's proceed with the story. So why did he write it? He wrote this story as if to give a warning to the human beings. So his stories, what are the main characteristics of Roald Dahl stories? So you will find it in page 40 of your textbook. Roald Dahl's short stories for adults are sly, funny and ingenious. They also often end on a slightly moralistic note. So a moral at the end. Like in O. Henry's story, there is a sting in the tail in the end. In his stories, it preaches a moral. So here we find the Great Automatic Grammatizator tells of a machine invented by Adolph Knipe. I told you he's the main protagonist. An aspiring writer, disheartened by many rejections. So this very rarely do we find a writer who says that his very first attempt at writing has been accepted. There are more rejections. And then only the acceptance comes. So he is like that. Several of his stories have been rejected. So he is very depressed. And so what does he do? He is a genius, mind you, he is a genius. So he tries to create or invent a machine. Roald Dahl, I told you, he's so ahead of his times. So he tries to invent a machine, and he does. So from which can produce lots of stories. And he claims to be the creator of these stories, and he becomes famous. So this is his way of taking revenge upon the editors for rejecting his story. So Knipe sees stories of similar or even lesser quality being accepted by the magazines he longs to publish in. Yeah, this is something even I have noticed. I always tell that before I started teaching in 1995, I had tried my hand at writing. So after several rejections came acceptance. But after that I started my coaching, and then goodbye to writing. So, but I had noticed that there are many authors whose Stories, even if they are in the mediocre level, they are being accepted. Whereas since I am a newcomer, they don't accept my stories, they reject it. But being a student of literature, at least I have the knowledge of which one is a better one and which one is not. So I realize that once you get accepted, after that any bullshit you write, they will publish it. So even the most famous authors of our times, they have said that yes, we faced several rejections, and then finally one got published, it became a bestseller, and after that there was no looking back. So Adolph Knipe also, several rejections. So he creates this machine. He should produce enough stories and eventually a decent number will be approved. So here the focus is on quantity, not quality. Quantity, the more stories you produce, finally they will accept. You send 20, maybe they'll accept 6. You send 1 and a masterpiece, they'll not accept it. He also realizes that a computer, although this word isn't used, has a powerful capacity for memory. So he thinks of the computer much ahead of his times. He has not mentioned the word computer, but then, which can be used to store grammatical rules and combinations of linguistic components. The account of Knipe's Eureka moment. Eureka moment, you know what is Eureka? It is linked to Archimedes. So it means I've got it. So he had been told to solve a problem. And while he was in his bath, suddenly he got the solution to his problem and he came out of his bath and ran through the streets shouting, Eureka, Eureka. That means I've got it. So his Eureka moment comes when? So the comically vague machine building that follows is entertaining. So he builds the machine and after 1 or 2 failures, it becomes a success. So another character is Mr. Bolin, who initially was his boss, but later Knight becomes the boss. So let's start with it. It's a lengthy story, so I'll do it in 2 parts. Okay, 24 pages. The Great Automatic Grammatizator, Roald Dahl. Since I teach you line-wise, that is why it will take 2 videos, okay? Well, Knight, my boy, now that it's finished, I just called you in to tell you, I think you've done a fine job. So he gets appreciated for something he has done. He has done a fine job, so the boss comes and appreciates him. Adolph Knight stood still in front of Mr. Bolin's desk. I told you Mr. Bolin is his employer. There seemed to be no enthusiasm in him at all. So normally, what is the reaction? When your boss praises you, you'll be naturally feeling very pleased. But no, nothing like that, no enthusiasm. Aren't you pleased? Oh yes, Mr. Bolin. Did you see what the paper said this morning? Newspapers. No sir, I didn't. The man behind the desk pulled a folded newspaper towards him. Behind the desk is Mr. Bolin and began to read. So he reads what is in the newspapers. The building of the Great Automatic Computing Engine ordered by the government some time ago is now complete. So a review. It is probably the fastest electronic calculating machine in the world today. So what is the function of that machine? Its function is to satisfy the ever-increasing need of science, industry and administration for rapid mathematical calculation. So this machine is good for mathematical calculation in a very rapid manner and with accuracy. It would have been physically impossible or would have required more time than the problems justified. The speed with which the new engine works, said Mr. John Bolin. So his name, the boss's name is also quoted in the review. So his full name is John Bolin. Head of the firm of electrical engineers mainly responsible for its construction may be grasped by the fact that it can provide the correct answer for a month. In 3 minutes, it can produce a calculation that by hand, that means if manually done, if it were possible, would fill 500,000 sheets of foolscap paper. So this machine saves paper, it saves time. So when it saves paper, a lot of money is also saved. The automatic computing engine uses pulses of electricity generated at the rate of 1,000,000 a second to solve all calculations that resolve themselves into addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So all types of mathematical problems can be handled by this machine, and that also in the twinkling of an eye. For practical purposes, there is no limit to what it can do. Mr. Bolin glanced up at the long, melancholy face of the younger man. Who's the younger man? Adolph Knight. So there is no sign of happiness when Mr. Bolin reads this. Aren't you proud, Knight? Aren't you pleased? Of course, Mr. Bolin. So that is customary. He says because he has to, but there is no sign of happiness or pleasure on his face. I don't think I have to remind you that your contribution, especially to the original plans, was an important one. That means, yes, your contribution was a very vital one in this. In fact, I might go so far as to say that without you and some of your ideas, this project might still be on the drawing room boards today. So if you had not contributed, then this machine would not have been possible. It would have remained in the former stage, in only the paperwork. Adolf Knight moved his feet on the carpet and he watched the two small white hands of his chief, the nervous fingers playing with a paper clip, unbending it, straightening out the hairpin curves. He didn't like the man's hands. He didn't like his face either, with the tiny mouth and the narrow purple-colored lips. So both of them a mutual dislike for each other. He also hates the face of this man, and even Mr. Bolin hates, but he needs Knipe, but he hates his face. It was unpleasant the way the lower lip moved when he talked. Is there anything bothering you, Knipe? Anything on your mind? Oh no, Mr. Bolin, no. How would you like to take a week's holiday? Do you good, you've earned it. So if you want, you can go for a holiday. He is very happy, he's being very generous, offering him a holiday. I don't know, sir. The older man waited, watching this tall, thin person who stood so sloppily before him. He was a difficult boy. Why couldn't he stand up straight? Always drooping and untidy, with spots on his jacket, his hair falling all over his face. So he's those typical geeks. So those typical guys busy with their work, unkempt style, no time for dresses and appearance, no bothering about his appearance. I'd like you to take a holiday, Knipe, you need it. All right, sir, if you wish. So he's not keen. So if the boss wants to give me a holiday, well and fine. Take a week, 2 weeks if you like. Oh, he's being too generous. 2 weeks if you want, 14 days. Go somewhere warm, get some sunshine, swim, relax, sleep, then come back and we'll have another talk about the future. So since this project has been quite successful, Mr. Bolin is quite generous towards Knight because he knows this man is a genius in his field. And he needs this man to be happy with his job so that he doesn't leave this job and go away. Adolph Knight went home by bus to his 2-room apartment. He threw his coat on the sofa, poured himself a drink of whiskey, and sat down in front of the typewriter that was on the table, so the manual typewriter. Mr. Bolin was right. Of course he was right, except that he didn't know the half of it. He probably thought it was a woman. Whenever a young man gets depressed, everyone thinks it's a woman. So Mr. Bolin must have thought that because of some woman, this fellow looks depressed. He might have been dejected. He might have been refused. So he says, go and take a holiday, enjoy yourself. So he is right when he thinks that Knight needs a break. But he doesn't understand why he needs a break. So why is Knight looking so distressed? Mr. Bolin understands that there is a reason for his looking depressed, but he doesn't know which one. He thinks most probably some women affair with some women, some love affair or something. But no, that is not the case. It's something else. He leaned forward and began to read through the half-finished sheet of typing, still in the machine, still in the typing machine. There is a half-filled sheet. It was headed A Narrow Escape. So a story, he had started writing it on the typewriter. And it began, the night was dark and stormy, the wind whistled in the trees, the rains poured down like cats and dogs. So this is the beginning of some story left unfinished. Adolph Knight took a sip of whiskey, tasting the malty bitter flavor, feeling the trickle of cold liquid as it traveled down his throat and settled in the top of his stomach. Cool at first and then spreading and becoming warm, making a little area of warmness in the gut. To hell with Mr. Bolin anyway, John Bolin anyway, and to hell with the great electrical computing machine. So he doesn't bother about either the machine or John Bolin. To hell with. So at exactly that moment, his eyes and mouth began slowly to open in a sort of wonder. So some idea popping up in his mind. And slowly he raised his head and became still, absolutely motionless, gazing at the wall opposite with this look that was more perhaps of astonishment than of wonder, but quite fixed now, unmoving and remaining thus for 40, 50, 60 seconds. Suddenly a brainwave. So he becomes motionless. Then gradually, the head still motionless, a subtle change spreading over the face, astonishment becoming pleasure. So from surprise to happiness. Very slight at first, only round the corners of the mouth, increasing gradually, spreading out until the whole face was open wide and shining with extreme delight. So the idea started coming and it has finally launched in his brain. It was the first time Adolph Knipe had smiled in many, many months. So, what is it that has given such pleasure? What is the thought? Of course, he said, speaking aloud, it's completely ridiculous. So the idea which has come into his mind and has made him smile, he understands that it is ridiculous, but still it makes him happy. Again he smiled, raising his upper lip and baring his teeth in a queerly sensual manner. So what is the idea? It's a delicious idea. Delicious, we speak about food, delicious food, but he calls the idea delicious. But so impracticable, it doesn't really bear thinking about at all. So he doesn't want to spend time in thinking of this because he finds this impractical. It's not possible. But still the idea is quite pleasant. And from then on, Adolph Knight began to think about nothing else. So he says that it's not really, it doesn't really bear thinking about at all, but then he keeps on thinking. What he says and what he does is completely contrary. He says there is no need to think about it all because it is impracticable, but he does think, and all the time he keeps on thinking. The idea fascinated him enormously at first because it gave him a promise, however remote, of revenging himself in a most devilish manner upon his greatest enemies. Because he felt that if this impracticable idea can be made practical, then he will be able to take his revenge upon a group of people. Who are the group of people he refers to? They are the editors who had rejected his manuscripts. From this angle alone, he toyed idly with it for perhaps 10 or 15 minutes. Then all at once he found himself examining it quite seriously. Examining what? The idea. Quite seriously as practical possibility. So why impracticable? Let me see if I can make it practical. A possibility. He took paper and made some preliminary notes, but he didn't get far. He found himself almost immediately up against the old truth that a machine, however ingenious, is incapable of original thoughts. And regarding story writing, you need thoughts, original thoughts, and a machine not capable of original thoughts, however improvised machine it is. It can handle no problem except those that resolve themselves into mathematical terms, problems that contain one and only one correct answer. So, the machine can solve these problems which has only one answer. This was a stumper. There didn't seem any way around it. A machine cannot have a brain. On the other hand, it can have a memory. This is a very vital point. It might not have a brain to think strange ideas, ingenious ideas, but then it can have a memory where lots of things can be stored. Their own electronic calculator has a marvelous memory. Simply by converting electrical pulses through a column of mercury into supersonic waves, it could store away at least 1,000 numbers at a time, extracting and one of them at the precise moment it was needed. Would it not be possible, therefore, on this principle, to build a memory section of almost unlimited size? Since the machine can have a memory, so why don't we build a memory and not unlimited size? Now, what about that? Then suddenly, a brilliant brainwave. He was struck by a powerful but simple little truth, and it was this. What was the truth? That English grammar is governed by rules that are almost mathematical in their strictness. Very true. English rules or English grammar also follows rules. I often tell my students, follow the rule. If you know the rule, your answer will be correct. You will know how to solve the do as directed. Given the word and given the sense of what is to be said, then there is only one correct order in which those words can be arranged. But then also there is a problem, like you all have in your MCQs. There can be more than one correct answer also to a particular problem. No, he thought, I'll give you an example. As soon as he saw the tiger, he ran away. This can have two answers, not only one. No sooner So no sooner did he see the tiger than he ran away, or no sooner had he seen the tiger that he ran away. So simple past tense, did he see, and past perfect, had he seen. So both the answers are equally correct. So this one will be an obstacle. That isn't quite accurate. In many sentences, there are several alternative positions for words and phrases, all of which may be grammatically correct. Like, he sometimes comes to my house, he comes sometimes to my house. The boy, comma, said the girl was ugly. This has one meaning. And then the boy within inverted comma open, the boy, inverted comma close, said the girl, again comma, and inverted comma open was ugly. That means, the first one means, according to the boy, the girl is ugly, and in the second one, according to the girl, the boy is ugly. So the same words, but in a different fashion, with different punctuations, meaning becomes completely different. But what the hell? The theory itself is basically true. Therefore, it stands to reason that an engine built along the lines of the electric computer could be adjusted to arrange words instead of numbers in the right order, according to the rules of grammar. Give it the verb, the nouns, the adjectives, the pronouns, store them in the memory section as a vocabulary, and arrange for them to be extracted as required. Then feed it with plots and leave it to write the sentences, and yes, it will come up with perfect grammatically correct sentences, which will be the groundwork for your stories. Just feed them with a plot and they will come out with stories. Therefore, there was no stopping. There was no stopping Knipe now. So since this idea came into his mind that he can do it this way, so now he starts laboring on the idea. He went to work immediately, and there followed during the next few days a period of intense labor. So he goes on laboring, devoting himself to his task. What is the task? To build a machine. The living room became littered with sheets of paper, so he has to write down the formula and then work on it. So the living room, paper scattered all around the room. Formulae and calculations, list of words, thousands and thousands of words, the plots of stories, curiously broken up and subdivided. Huge extracts from Roget's Thesaurus, pages filled with the first names of men and women. Yes, stories need characters, they need names, they need plots. So if you store them in the memory and give you a prompt, and the story will come out. Prompt, nowadays in ChatGPT they say provide it with a prompt and it will come up with a story. But they are not original. Hundreds of surnames taken from the telephone directory, intricate drawings of wires and circuits, and switches and thermionic valves, drawings of machines that could punch holes of different shapes in little cards, and of a strange electric typewriter that could type 10,000 words a minute. Just imagine 10,000 words. Of course, it is an electronic typewriter, not the manual one, where 60 words a minute would be something great. Also a kind of control panel with a series of small push buttons, each one labeled with the name of a famous American magazine. So different magazines, one this name, another. This is A, this is B, this is C, different names. He was working in a mood of exultation, prowling around the room amidst this littering of paper, rubbing his hands, so he is in a state of nervous excitement. Talking out loud to himself, and sometimes with a sly curl of the nose, he would mutter a series of murderous imprecations in which the word editor, why editor? He considers the editor to be his worst enemy. And he wants to revenge. Seemed always to be present. On the 15th day of continuous work, he collected the papers into 2 large folders which he carried almost at a run to the office of John Bolin, Inc. Electrical Engineers. So 2 weeks gone and he has been laboring on the subject, and now he collects all those papers and goes to his boss's office. Mr. Bolin was pleased to see him back. 14 days gone and he's back to his office. Well, Knight, good gracious me, you look 100% better. You have a good holiday? Where do you go? What he says and what he thinks, they are not the same. He's just as ugly and untidy as ever. This is what he feels, but he says, you look 100% better. Mr. Bolin thought, why doesn't he stand up straight? He looks like a bent stick. You look 100% better, boy, my boy. I wonder what he's grinning about. And then he sees Knight grinning. So his brain is thinking, what is he grinning? That means, what is he laughing? Every time I see him, his ears seem to have got larger, like the man of the Mars. They have pointed ears. Adolph Knipe placed the folders on the desk. Look, Mr. Bolin, he cried, look at these. So all those he had been working on, and he had written it down in the paper, and those papers submitted to Mr. John Bolin. Then he poured out his story. He opened the folders and pushed the plans in front of the astonished little man. He talked for over an hour, explaining everything, and when he had finished, he stepped back, breathless, flushed, waiting for the verdict. Waiting for the final approval coming from Mr. Bolin. You know what I think, Snipe? I think you're nuts. After hearing everything for over an hour, he says, I think you're crazy. Careful now, Mr. Bolin told himself. After saying this, he tells himself that be careful of what you say. Why? Because if hearing that I'm nutty, he might leave the job and go. And he needs Adolph Knipe a lot, because this man is a genius. Treat him carefully. He is valuable. This one is. And only if he didn't look so awful. So he considers Knipe's personal appearance to be awful, whereas Knipe also considers Mr. Bolin hateful, repulsive. Oh, if only he didn't look so awful with that long horse face and big teeth. The fellow had ears as big as a rhubarb leaves. But Mr. Bolin, it will work. I've proved to you it will work. You can't deny that. So see those papers. I've proved it, that this will work. Take it easy, Knight. Take it easy and listen to me. Adolph Knight watched his man, disliking him more every second. So already there is a mutual dislike in their hearts, though they don't show it openly. This idea, Mr. Bolin's lower lip was saying, is very ingenious. I might almost say brilliant. And it only goes to confirm my opinion about your abilities. You're a genius. But don't take it too seriously. After all, my boy, what possible use can it be to us? Yeah, it is of no use to us. Even if it is able to do what you are claiming that it can do, but how will it affect, how will it be beneficial to us? Who on earth wants a machine for writing stories? And where is the money in it anyway? Just tell me that. So he's a businessman and he's more bothered about money. So where is money in it? But Adolph Knipe knows there is money. May I sit down, sir? Sure, take a seat. Adolph Knipe seated himself on the edge of a chair. The older man watched him with alert brown eyes, wondering what was coming now. So what is he going to say now? I would like to explain something, Mr. Bolin, if I may, about how I came to do all this. So he wants to give some explanations. Good, right, go right ahead, Knight. He would have to be humored a little now, Mr. Bolin told himself. This boy was really valuable, a sort of genius, almost worth his weight in gold to the firm. So if his weight is 58 kgs, so he is as valuable as 58 kgs of gold. Just look at these papers here. Darndest thing you ever saw. Astonishing piece of work. Quite useless, of course. No commercial value. But it proved again the boy's ability. So he agrees that the boy is a genius. And he agrees that this machine can be possible. But he thinks of the monetary gain always. And he feels that there is no benefit in this machine. It's a sort of confession, I suppose, Mr. Bolin. I think it explains why I have been always so kind of worried. You tell me anything you want, Knipe. I'm here to help you, you know that? The young man clasped his hands together tight on his laps, hugging himself with his elbows. It seemed as though suddenly he was feeling very cold. So when we feel cold, so don't we sit in this way? So he, as if is feeling cold. You see, Mr. Bolin, to tell the honest truth, I don't really care much for my work here. I work here, but I don't care for my work here. So what do I care for? I know I'm good at it and all that sort of thing, but my heart's not in it. So this is not my passion. It's not what I want to do the most. Up went Mr. Bolin's eyebrows, quick like a spring. His whole body became very still. Why? Because he feels, is this man saying that he's going to leave the job? You see, sir, all my life I wanted to be a writer. So this is where his passion is. This is what he had wanted to be. His ambition. A writer. Yes, Mr. Bolin, you may not believe it, but every bit of spare time I've had, I've spent writing stories. So in my leisure, I've been writing stories. In the last 10 years, I've written hundreds, literally hundreds of short stories, 566 to be precise. Approximately one a week. Oh my God. So that means 52 stories a year. Approximately one a week. And to think that they have been rejected by the editors, it's really sad. It's not that they publish very high quality stories. Many may be inferior to the ones Knipe had written, but they publish it. Why? Because that person has become a known face in the literary world. Good heavens, man, what on earth did you do that for? All I know, sir, is I have the urge. So within me is the urge to write stories. What sort of urge? The creative urge to create something. That is what he does in the field of machine also, creates. Every time he looked up, he saw Mr. Bolin's lips. They were growing thinner and more purple. And may I ask you what you do with these stories, Knight? Well, sir, that's the trouble. So that's the trouble. No one will buy them. Each time I finish one, I send it out on the rounds. He sends it to one editor, he rejects, then he sends it to another, doing the rounds, but then no one accepts it. It goes to one magazine after another, and that's all that happens, Mr. Bolin, and they simply send them back. It's very depressing. So this is the reason why he wants to invent this automatic grammatizator. Mr. Bolin relaxed. I can see quite well how you feel, my boy. His voice was dripping with sympathy. We all go through it one time or another. Yeah, so all of us, we have faced our failures, our share of failures. But now that you've had proof, positive proof from the experts themselves, from the editors, that your stories are, what shall I say, rather unsuccessful, it's time to leave off. Yeah, leave this job. Not leave this job, I mean leave this urge to create. Stop writing stories. Forget it, my boy. Just forget all about it. No, Mr. Bolin, no, that's not true. I know my stories are good. My heavens, when you compare them with the stuff some of those magazines print. Oh my word, Mr. Bolin. The sloppy, boring stuff that you see in the magazines week after week. Why? It drives me mad. So why is he so depressed? Because the stuffs, after rejecting his stories, the stuff which the magazines publish, they are not really very good in quality. So that is what makes him mad. That they reject my good stories and instead publish this cheap stuff. Now wait a minute, my boy. Do you ever read the magazines, Mr. Bolin? You'll pardon me, Knight, but what's all this got to do with your machine? So he can't understand. What's the link? Everything, Mr. Bolin, everything, absolutely everything. What I want to tell you is I've made a study of magazines, and it seems that each one tends to have its own particular type of story. The writers, the successful ones, know this, and they write accordingly. The successful writers, they know a particular genre and they write on this. Just a minute, my boy, calm yourself down, will you? I don't think all this is getting us anywhere. So he feels that this is not getting us anywhere. We are just talking about it, which will not benefit us in any way. There is no money in what you are wanting to create. Please, Mr. Bolin, hear me through. It's all terribly important. He paused to catch his breath. He was properly worked up now, throwing his hand around as he talked. The long, toothy face with big ears on either side simply shone with enthusiasm, and there was an excess of saliva in his mouth which caused him to speak his words wet. So you see, on my machine, by having an adjustable coordinator between the plot memory section and the word memory section. So plot memory section, from that you bring up a plot, and then from the word memory section you feed it to the word memory section and the story comes out pop. I'm able to produce any type of story I desire simply by pressing the required button. So by pressing the required button, I can this machine will provide me with a lot of stories of my liking. Yes, I know, Knight, I know. This is all very interesting, but what's the point of it? What's the point of getting stories written by the machine? Just this, Mr. Bolin, the market is limited. We've got to be able to produce the right stuff at the right time, whenever we want it. It's a matter of business, that's all. I'm looking at it from your point of view now. Whose point of view? Mr. Bolin's point of view. He is thinking of this in business terms, so it is not going to bring us any money. So Adolph Knipe says that I'm thinking in your point of view as a commercial proposition. My dear boy, it can't possibly be a commercial proposition. ever. You know as well as I do what it costs to build one of these machines. Yes, this machine, when you try to build it, it will cost you quite a lot of money. Yes, sir, I do. But with due respect, I don't believe you know what the magazines pay writers for their stories. So, do you have any idea how much the editors or the magazines they pay a successful writer for his stories? What do they pay? Anything up to $2,500. My God, it probably averages around 1,000. Mr. Bolin jumped, so now he sees what Adolph Knipe is hinting at. Yes, sir, it's true. So he finds it's incredible. Absolutely impossible, Knipe, ridiculous. So he doesn't believe. How can they pay so much? No, sir, it's true. You mean to sit there and tell me that these magazines pay out money like that to a man just for scribbling up a story? Just for scribbling a story, they get paid so handsomely. Good heavens, Knipe, whatever next, writers must be all millionaires. That exactly it, Mr. Bolin. That's where the machine comes in. So that is where we need the machine. Listen a minute, sir, while I tell you more. I've got it all worked out. That means I've got it all chalked out. The big magazines are carrying approximately 3 fiction stories in each issue. Each issue they bring out 3 stories. Now take the 15 most important magazines. So 15 into 3. The ones paying the most money. A few of them are monthlies, but most of them come out every week. So weeklies and 3 stories. That makes us, let us say, around 50 big stories being brought each week. Rather, it should be 45. 3 15s are 45. He said 15. Anyway, that's $40,000. So with our machine, when we get it working properly, we can collar nearly the whole of this market. Which market? The publishing market. My dear boy, you're mad. No, sir, honestly, it's true what I say. Don't you see that with volume alone, we'll completely overwhelm them? This machine can produce 5,000 word story all typed and ready for dispatch in 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, a story will come up, and that also not just 100 words or 200 words, 5,000 word. How can the writers compete with that? The writers will take months to do this, yes. I ask you, Mr. Bolin, how? At that point, Adolph Knight noticed a slight change in the man's expression, a favorable change. An extra brightness in the eyes, the nostrils distending, the whole face becoming still, almost rigid. Quickly he continued, nowadays, Mr. Bolin, the handmade article hasn't a... Yeah, because it will take a lot of time. It can't possibly compete with mass production, especially in this country. You know that. Carpets, chairs, shoes, bricks, crockery, anything you like to mention, they are all made by machinery now. Yeah, they are all made in the factories. So think of a shoemaker making a shoe, it taking him maybe 14 days to complete one, and from the factories the shoes come out in great quantity. If you need a shoe immediately, you will go to these shops, not to the shoemaker. So here in today's world, we are more bothered about quantity, not about quality. No one bothers about quality. The shoemaker might be making exquisite shoes, but who has the time to wait for so long? Maybe tomorrow you need a shoe for your interview. You will obviously go to those shoe stores and then get one. The quality may be inferior, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, in the same way, the quality of the story might not be really that good. But who bothers? It's the cost of production that counts, and stories, well, they are just another product like carpets and chairs. And no one cares how you produce them so long as you deliver the goods. So long as the product is delivered. Who cares about quality? We'll sell them wholesale, that means in large numbers. We'll undercut every writer in the country, we'll corner the market. So we will be sending to the editors a lot of stories in one go. Mr. Bolin edged up straighter in his chair. He was leaning forward now, both elbows on the desk, like this. Both elbows on the desk. The face alert, the small brown eyes resting on the speaker. I still think it's impracticable, Knipe, so final traces of doubt has to be removed. 40,000 a week, cried Adolph Knight. And if we halve the price, making it 20,000 a week, and that's still $1,000,000 a year. So if in 1 week 20,000, okay, leave 40,000. If it is 20,000 also, then in a year, how much will it be? It will be 1,000,000. And he softly added, you didn't get any million a year for building that old electronic calculator. So how much did you get for building that old electronic calculator? Did you get 1,000,000? But seriously now, Knipe, do you really think they would buy them? So do you think that the editors would buy these stories? Listen, Mr. Bolin, who on earth is going to want custom-made stories when they can get the other at half the price? It stands to reason, doesn't it? And how will you sell them? Who will you say has written them? So the machine has written, but you won't say the machine has written. You have to give a name. We'll set up our own literary agency and we'll distribute them through that. So the literary agents will distribute the stories and giving some names. And we'll invent all the names we want for the writers. Yes, ghost writers. I don't like it, Knipe. To me, that smacks of trickery, doesn't it? No. So it seems a bit deceit. It seems deceitfulness, trickery. And another thing, Mr. Bolin, there's all manner of valuable byproducts once you got started. Take advertising, for example. Beer manufacturers and people like that are willing to pay good money these days if famous writers will lend their names to their products. Yes, you see even in the movie industry also advertising. These famous cinema stars, and some of them, they advertise one particular thing, another comes Colgate toothpaste or something like that. Like Sachin Tendulkar advertising for some shaving cream. Why, my heavens, Mr. Bolin, this isn't any children's plaything we are talking about. It's big business. So we'll find sponsors, we'll find advertising, people wanting to advertise, wanting us writers to advertise for them. Don't get too ambitious, my boy. And another thing, there isn't any reason why we shouldn't put your name, Mr. Bolin, on some of the better stories if you wished it. So if you wish to be considered as a writer, we can, on some of these stories, we can also put your name. My goodness, Knipe, what should I want that for? So why should I want my name on the stories? I don't know, sir, except that some writers get to be very much respected. Yeah, writers are popular. And wherever they go, they are flocked by people. Please, sir, give an autograph. So they are looked upon, means people look upon them with respect. Like Mr. Eric Gardner or Kathleen Morris, for example. We've got to have names, and I was certainly thinking of using my own on 1 or 2 stories just to help out. Yeah, so he is an aspiring writer, so why don't I lend my name? A writer, Mr. Bolin said, musing. So yes, how about getting introduced in the club as a writer? Well, it would surely surprise them over at the club when they saw my name in the magazines, the good magazines. That's right, Mr. Bolin. So this is like giving a piece of meat to a dog. So Mr. Bolin, he's always interested in making money. So here you will not only make money, but you will get fame also. For a moment, a dreamy, faraway look came into Mr. Bolin's eyes and he smiled. Then he stirred himself and began leafing through the plans. So he takes those papers and he goes through it that lay before him. One thing I don't quite understand, Knight, where do the plots come from? Because the plots are the most vital, and based on the plots, the story is formed. The machine can't possibly invent plots. We feed those in, sir. There is no problem at all. Everyone has plots. There is 300 or 400 of them written down in that folder there on your left. Feed them straight into the plot memory section of the machine. So in the plot memory section of the machine, feed the plots and it will remain there. Go on, there are many other refinements too, Mr. Bolin. You will see them all when you study the plans carefully. For example, there is a trick that nearly every writer uses of inserting at least one long obscure word in each story. So that is a style, that is a trick to get more readers. This makes the reader think that the man is very wise and clever. Why? If he can use such words in his story, he must be a wise person. So I have the machine do the same thing. There will be a whole stack of long words stored away just for this purpose, to insert in the stories and make it popular. Where? In the word memory section. Plot memory, word memory. He said exegetically. Through most of that day, the two men, so now Bolin, he is slowly coming to terms. Two men discussed the possibilities of the new engine. In the end, Mr. Bolin said he would have to think about it some more. So I need some time. The next morning, he was quietly, so he thinks over it the whole night, and next morning, very enthusiastic, full of enthusiasm. Within a week, he was completely sold out on the idea. So within a week, he completely accepts it, agrees. What will we have to do? Knipe is to say that we are merely building another mathematical calculator, but of a new type. That will keep the secret. And he is clever. He doesn't want that the secret should be out, that they are building a machine to invent stories. So he wants that should be kept a secret between the two of them. And what will they tell the others who are helping them in the work? That this is another calculating machine, nothing else. Exactly, Mr. Bolin. So Knipe agrees to it. And in 6 months, the machine was completed. It took them 6 months to complete the machine. It was housed in a separate brick building at the back of the premises. And now that it was ready for action, no one was allowed. Yeah, in the final stages, no one allowed except these two, Mr. Bolin and Adolph Knight. It was an exciting moment when the two men, the one, Mr. Bolin, short, plump, brave-eyed, and the other tall, thin, and toothy, stood in the corridor before the control panel and got ready to run off the first story. So Mr. Bolin thinks that right from the word A, it will be a success. No, it's not so. All around them were walls dividing up into many small corridors, and the walls were covered with wiring and plugs and switches and huge glass valves. They were both nervous. Yeah. They are nervous. Why? Will it work or will it not work? Mr. Bolin hopping from one foot to the other. Quite unable to keep still. This is on account of his nervous excitement. Which button? Adolph Knight asked, eyeing a row of small white discs that resembled the keys of the typewriter. You choose, Mr. Bolin. Lots of magazines to pick from. So which magazine? Saturday Evening Post, Collier's, Ladies' Home Journal, anyone you like. Goodness me, boy, how do I know? So he is not in this line. He doesn't know anything about it. It is Knipe who knows. He was jumping up and down like a man on his hives. Mr. Bolin, Adolph Knipe said gravely, do you realize that at this moment, with your little finger alone, you have it in your power to become the most versatile writer on this continent? So he keeps on feeding. Listen, Knipe, just get on with it, will you please, and cut out the preliminaries. So stop the preliminaries and let's get down to business. Okay, Mr. Bolin? Then we'll make it. Let me see. This one. How is that? He extended one finger and pressed down a button with the name Today's Woman, printed across it in diminutive black type. So which magazine does he select? Today's Woman. There was a sharp click, and when he took his finger away, the button remained down below the level of the others. So for the selection of the magazine done. So much for the selection, he said. Now here we go. He reached up and pulled a switch on the panel. Immediately the room was filled with a loud humming noise. and a crackling of electric sparks and a jingle of many tiny, quickly moving levers, and almost at the same instant, sheets of quarto paper began sliding out from a slot. So like when you type in a typewriter and the paper comes out, and then you have to put a fresh paper, but here it is electronically done. So you don't have to put a paper every time. They come out automatically. And dropping into a basket below, they came out quick, one sheet a second, and in less than half minute it was all over. The sheets stopped coming. That's it, Adolf Knipe cried. There is your story. But what is it? They grabbed the sheets and began to read. The first one they picked up started as follows: A, I, F, K, J, M, so blah, 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 blah. So only the letters, nothing, no word. They looked at the others. The style was roughly similar in all of them. So in the first page, second page, third page, everything. Mr. Bolin began to shout. The younger man tried to calm him down. It's all right, sir. Really it is. It only needs a little adjustment. We've got a connection wrong somewhere. That's all. You must remember, Mr. Bolin, there is over 1 million feet of wiring in this room. You can't expect everything to be right first time. So he's an optimist, but Mr. Bolin is not. It will never work. He becomes, just see the pessimism in him. Be patient, sir, be patient. So I think I'll stop here, and the remaining part will come in the next video, because you must be getting bored if I try to put everything in this video. As it is, it's nearly 1 hour. So 24 pages is not a joke. So the remaining few pages I'll do in the next video, along with the discussion on the theme and the title of the story. Okay, so bye for the time being, and wait for the next video. But don't forget this, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel.